It's really interesting. I've said before that, I wind up living these talks, and so we're going to have to start thinking of new titles like, how to spend the millions that I have and where to go on that next vacation, right? I mean, those have to be the new titles because I wind up living them. And, the interesting thing about it, I was thinking about that in the last couple of days, and you know how we say we always pray for things, like we pray for peace, or we pray for patience, or we pray for love, and we don't get peace or patience or love. We get the opportunity to be that in the world, We get the opportunity to show up as that in the world, and so, and I kept thinking about that, and I thought, why does that always happen, And I finally got to that place where we're praying for something thinking we don't have it. So it's kind of Spirit's way of showing us, no, it comes from within us. It does come from within us. We have everything we need within us. So when we pray for patience, we do become that thing in the world. It is within us to demonstrate. So that's why it's like, oh, okay, well, that makes more sense. So today is the last talk in Expanded Horizons. And one of the things I thought about was, well, how do we do that? How do we expand our horizons? And I think it's by stretching. We stretch, we consider different things, we do different things, we keep growing, and if we get to that point where we know ourselves so well, we know our likes and our dislikes, and we know exactly who we are, and we won't ever change, then what good are we? Really, we are here to grow, to keep changing. We must grow as long as we live. And on this pathway of spiritual growth, we are expanding our horizons all the time. Every time we question the thought, every time we question our ability or our capabilities of loving, every time we think we're right at the edge of how much we can grow, there's always something after that. Because our goal is to be that in the world. To be that in the world, to find that within ourselves and then demonstrate it out into the world. We are here to be that unconditional love or to be that universal love. So expanding each and every day, expanding what we think we're capable of, that is our spiritual journey. And I think one of the ways we expand our horizons, well, the first way is by praying. We pray everybody, everywhere. That's the first thing that we can do to expand our horizons is we pray. We make that daily life, that daily spiritual practice we have of praying into being, And what happens on our spiritual path is we start to move from praying stuff into being, into praying feeling and qualities of God into being. We move away from, it's like, oh, I want the job, I want the house, I want the car, I want the mate, I want this, I want that. As our spiritual path expands, we begin to pray things like peace and love. We care less and less about the stuff and more about the qualities that we want our life to be in the world. So we wind up moving our prayer work from maybe some of the stuff to world peace or global healing, along with our personal desires. We wind up expanding our horizons in that way where we see the bigger picture, and our desires become world desires, or world desires become our desires, or both. I don't know, either or and. We start to have that global idea. Well, what am I praying? Well, I'm praying peace. I'm praying love. I'm praying joy. And not necessarily through my job or through my mate or my new career or whatever it is. It's just those qualities of God. What we want for us, we want for everyone. We start praying those universal prayers of what I want for myself, I want for all of humanity. I want for everyone. What happens is our circle becomes bigger. When we expand our daily prayer life, our circle becomes bigger. Like, it's not just about me, or then it's not just about my family, or it's not just about my community or my state or my country. It becomes global. My prayer is my prayer for the world. And Edwin Markham was a poet around the turn of the last century, and he said this. It's a cute little poem called Outwitted. He said, "He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout. But love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle and took him in." And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about drawing a bigger circle, making it a bigger circle so that we invite everyone in. Our circle encompasses the world now. When we pray peace, when we pray love, when we pray harmony. It's not only for my life or for my family's life, but now I'm praying the big prayer, expanding my horizons to include everyone, everywhere. Because we cannot go to prayer holding things against other people, right? I mean, the part in the Bible that says, Matthew 5:24, right? Leave your gift in front of the altar and then go first and be reconciled with them. Be reconciled with your brothers and sisters and then come back. We can't pray when we're holding, people hostage, when we're holding the wrongness of the other. When we have released that, when we have made all of humanity brothers and sisters, then we are that clear vessel through which Spirit flows right through us into manifestation. So what we want for ourselves, we have to want for the world. What we want for ourselves, we have to want for everybody else around us. Because we are that. We are that loving thing. So that's one of the things that we do. We pray everyone, everywhere. And so that leads us to the second thing, which is loving everyone, everywhere. Yep, loving everyone, everywhere. Ernest Holmes said this, and I love it. This is, I think, one of my favorite quotes of Ernest Holmes. He said, "The first thing to do is to love everybody. If you have not done this, begin to do so immediately." Isn't that great? I just love that. It's just so perfect. If you haven't begun to do that, just do this immediately. Just begin to love everybody everywhere. And it is so true. Again, going back to the prayer work, it's a stumbling block if we're not in love with everybody. We cannot hold a negative in our heart and then be open and accepting for Spirit to work through us into the world. We can't be feeling negative energy towards someone and want positive for us. We can't hold a group of people or an individual down and expect our good. It just doesn't work. So it's either good for all or not at all. Does that make sense? It's, if we're praying, it's good for all. Ernest Holmes, he said this too. He said, "My love goes out to everyone in the world. I do not exclude anything, for I love all of nature and everything in it. My love warms and lightens everything that it touches. It goes out to all places. The love flowing through me is a power to all who come into contact with it, and all feel and know that I am love. Love within me is complete and perfect." And isn't that our life now? This is what we desire for ourselves. We want to show up and be the love. That's what we do. When we are on this spiritual path together, we show up as the love. We show up as the light. We show up as the place of peace. And people around us feel that. And people around us are transformed by our presence in it, because we are so convinced and we are so clear that that is the truth of our lives. And so how wonderful it is that is our role in this world right now. That's the spiritual path that we're on, to be that in the world, to be that universal love, and and how many times do we grouch about things, or maybe that's just me. See, I told you I lived this talk this week. But I mean, sometimes we complain bitterly about circumstances or people or bosses or families or groups or ethnicities, and we complain about other cultures. We can complain about all sorts of things, about what everybody else is doing wrong but us. And can we just let that go? That's not rhetorical. Can we just let that go? Yes, we can. Yes, we can. We can let that go. It takes more energy to hold a grudge than to let a grudge go. You release it, you drop it, and you wind up being the love that the world is calling for us to be. Then we step into that role that Ernest Holmes said, "My love warms and lightens everything it touches, and it goes out to all places." No exceptions. No exceptions. I think we can do that. I think that we are doing that. When we are on our spiritual path, when we are doing our spiritual practice, when we're showing up and being the love, I think we are doing that. Okay, so we're expanding our horizons by everybody everywhere, by praying them, by loving them, and then what else? By forgiving everybody everywhere. Yeah, keep breathing. I said the F word. The big F word. I said forgive. Ooh, and that is a tough one. That is a tough one. The forgiving part can kind of stick, and we can have problems with it. I read this saying the other day that said the 3 hardest tasks in the world are neither physical feats nor intellectual achievements, but are moral acts. To return love for hate, to include the excluded, and to say I was wrong. You got it, right? Please don't make me say that. Okay. 3 toughies. But each time we do it, and we're still here, and we've survived, it gets easier. I have to tell you, no harm comes to us by forgiving. We don't shrivel up and dry up and blow away. Each time we forgive and nothing bad happens, we get it. We get it that we are freed. We're not falsely led into danger. We're not being naive. We're not letting someone off the hook. Each time we forgive, we understand that it's our practice. It's a self-practice. It's a way of freeing ourselves. In the Course in Miracles, doesn't it say, the holiest place on earth is where an ancient hatred has become a present love. How freeing that is to just drop it. Just drop it. Forgiveness is a practice we give ourselves. It is a practice that we give ourselves, we're going along with life, la-di-da, everything's wonderful. We got a job, we got work, we got this, we got that. And then all of a sudden, wham, something unexpected happens. Well, we lose the job, or we get dumped, or whatever happens. And then all of a sudden, you know what? There's got to be somebody that's responsible for this. We need to find somebody to blame when something like that happens. It's got to be somebody else's fault. It's got to be, and we need to find somebody to blame and somebody to be angry with and somebody to point fingers at. And it's only when we step back and we regroup and we come to prayer that, the truth of us is there is only one consciousness, right? We go back to core concept number 1. There's only God. There is only God in whatever form it's choosing to show up. There is only consciousness. So who are we blaming? Bless you. Who are we blaming? There's only one of us in the room. There's only one consciousness. Pray, love, forgive. That's what we're doing. Pray, love, forgive. Everybody, everywhere. So when we're forgiving the other, there is no other. There is only consciousness. There's only consciousness. So in a way, we are simply freeing ourselves. Forgiveness is not about letting somebody else off the hook. It's about living peace of mind. Living peace of mind. And I love this saying that Jacob Glass wrote. He said, real love is releasing the need for people to be different than they are. I call it releasing the hostages. We free people from, wanting them to be other than what they are. They are what they are. And so when we release them and allow them just to show up in all of their strengths and all of their weaknesses and all of their faults and all of their truths, we find that we are the ones that are free. We are the ones that are freed. That's true forgiveness, is blessing and releasing. Doesn't mean you have to go to lunch with them. Really. Spend your day off with them. It just means blessing and releasing and holding nothing against our brothers and sisters. Pray, love, forgive. Pray, love, forgive. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, life is not something to be endured. It is to be lived in joy, in fullness, without limit. We must get rid of the old morbid theological concepts. I place no value on anything unless it brings gladness, love, friendship, the ability to laugh, and makes me feel that every person I meet, if I knew him, I would love him. He is as good as I, having the same heart having the same kind of bloodstream, having the same divinity. That's what we're here to do, to recognize there is no other. There is consciousness showing up in infinite varieties of forms. There is only the one showing up in that infinite diversity. It's just the one life of spirit, out picturing in the most individual and unique of ways. And sometimes that's a real challenge for us. But it's up to us to know the oneness, to know the consciousness of oneness, and to give everybody the freedom we expect for ourselves. Mostly we get angry and we blame things instead of our faulty perception. It's our faulty perception, really. We think that there's an other out there that can possibly betray us or treat us badly or hurt us, when in actuality, it's just consciousness. It is just consciousness. And you know, live in these talks. When the other lets us down and we bump up against it, it's our own stuff we're bumping up against. It's not their stuff. They're just the reflection. They're just the mirror. So what is it about us? What is that thing that needs to be healed within us? Mostly we bump up against old patterns, old beliefs, old fears, and then we act out of them until we can see clearly that it's us. We can see clearly that is within us and how easy it is to forgive that. Not, right? When I'm talking about praying, loving, and forgiving, I'm talking about the self also. You know, we can also forgive ourselves for that faulty perception. And we can heal that within us. And we can practice self-love. We can pray the self, and we can forgive the self. And when we heal those old wounds, when we healed those old faulty perceptions, we stop acting out of them. And then we're free to live in the present, fully us, with all the qualities of God. We get to be free of those old patterns and those old beliefs and the faulty perceptions, and we get to live like Ernest Holmes said, my love goes out to everyone in the world. I exclude nothing, for I love all nature and everything in it. My love warms and lightens everything it touches and goes out to all of those places. That's the truth of us. That we are love. That's it. Just love. Just pure love. That's the truth of our being. Ernest Holmes said that, we are simply love, and love points the way, and law makes the way possible. We embrace the wholeness of who we are, and then we can see that in others. When we come from the place of our own woundedness, that's all we see out in the world is more wounds. So we heal that within us, and we get there by praying, loving, and forgiving. Praying, loving, and forgiving. Everybody, everywhere. No exceptions. No exceptions. And this is where we come to true inclusivity. We say like Vision, our community, right? We're an inclusive bunch. You know that. We're loving. We are inclusive. But that inclusivity has to be genuine. It has to be authentic. It can't be, well, I'm going to just tolerate you and I just won't say anything to you, but I just, it's like, no, we are all in this together, and we bump up against each other, and we do, and we are at odds with each other sometimes, and we are, but the love is still there. And that's true inclusivity, is that we're not expecting the other to change to make us feel better, but that we absolutely, truly love and honor the other for exactly who they are. This is true inclusivity, where we hold nothing against anyone. We just allow each and every one of us to show up as we are. We all have our quirks and idiosyncrasies. My God, I must drive so many people crazy here. And when we pray, when we love, when we forgive, it's okay. Everybody has the freedom to show up just as they are and just as they are not, with all of our skilled and unskilled behaviors. And instead of trying to, comb the mirror and fix the out there to make ourselves feel better, we know it is our work, and it's our work to do. When we step back and we pray and love and forgive, it means the self as well. It means the self as well. This practice is for each of us. And then we get to live that life of inclusivity. And then we don't have to keep moving around from place to place, for a perfect community where people get us or we get them. We get to have perfection right where we are because we see each other in the wholeness that we are. We see each other in the wholeness that we are. We are spirit in form. Ernest Holmes said this. He said, "We cannot only embrace ourselves. Somehow our arms must find themselves around the shoulders of all humanity. We cannot worship a God who belongs to us alone. Only as we enter into the feeling of the essence that diffuses itself everywhere, then at last we can look at each other and we can say, I worship God in your form. I worship God in your form. Pray, love, and forgive. Everyone, everywhere. That's who we are. That's what we do. Thank you.